before bedtime. So
We think you'll get home either way for that.
I hope so. But you know me, I won't pass on a snack if it's midnight. So if I get everybody to rise for a pledge of allegiance, followed by invocation by Daniel Hester, chaplain for the Hamilton County Sheriff's Office. I don't see our chaplain, so. Councilor Waniger, would you lead us in a prayer or put you on the spot, or somebody from council step up? Joe and Noah are shaking their hands no, so.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this evening to gather as city council and as residents of our community to carry out the business of the city. Please look over us as we make our decisions tonight. Also look over our employees for the city of Westfield as they carry about their daily responsibilities. Also, always look over those in our community and provide the proper guidance and direction for our residents in our community. In our name, amen.
Thank you, Councilor. Appreciate it. Councilor Tam, would you like to run the meeting, please?
Great, thank you, Mayor. Can we first start with the presence of a quorum?
John Dart,
Here.
Joe Deppner,
Here.
Noah Herron,
Here.
Chad Huff, Victor McCarty,
Here.
Patrick Tam,
Here.
Kurt Waninger.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next order of business, I'm assuming everyone had the opportunity to review the minutes from the May 27th meeting. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from May 27, 2025.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may I call the roll?
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Waninger.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Our next order of business this evening is our claims docket. Assuming everyone had the opportunity to review those, I need a motion and a second.
Motion to approve the claims?
Second.
Motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Waniger. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Waninger,
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Do we have any residents that wish to address the council this evening? Okay, thank you. We have a special presentation this evening on an update on 191st Street construction projects. I think John is coming to us live, I believe.
That's right. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. All right. Well, I'm going to give a brief update on the 191st Street construction projects we have ongoing here in the city of Westfield. Next slide. Just to be clear, when I talk about phase 1, phase 2, what we're talking about is from Tomlinson Road over to Grand Park Boulevard is phase 1. That includes road widening of 191st Street to a 4-lane section with a median. It includes a roundabout at Grand Park Boulevard. And it also includes a pedestrian bridge for the Monon Trail over 191st Street. Lockmiller Group is designing that particular project. And then phase 2 picks up where phase 1 leaves off, just west of Grand Park Boulevard. And it carries that same 4-lane median section of 191st Street west to Spring Mill Road. So when we talk about phase 1, phase 2, that's what we're talking about. Next slide, please. So we've been working on phase 1 for a few years now. Lockmiller Group is finalizing design work on that project. We are finalizing right-of-way engineering, which is essentially the parcels or the legal descriptions of parcels that need to be acquired to do the project. There's a couple parcels just west of the Monon Trail that are impacted and need to be acquired as part of this project. We expect right-of-way acquisition to go into this fall of 2025. And simultaneously, utility relocation will then be ongoing late fall into spring of 26 for phase 1. We expect road construction to begin April 1st of 26. and we will be doing a bid opening, bid letting. We're targeting August 20th of this year to open bids for the project itself. So we're going to let the project this year as utility relocation work is ongoing with a spring construction schedule of 26. It'll take one full construction season to complete, so we expect construction to be finalized in November of 26. And just for reference, total road and bridge construction costs are estimated at about $13 million. We've kept Grand Park and their folks, we've coordinated closely with them on this project, as 191st Street is an important route for Grand Park visitors. And we have phased the construction such that we are really minimizing impacts to Grand Park. That doesn't mean that there will be zero impacts, but we are keeping the roadway and access to the north side of Grand Park open for the majority of that construction work. So a lot of coordination has gone on with Grand Park during the design process. Next slide. So then phase two, as I mentioned, picks up where phase one leaves off. And this is just sort of a conceptual plan that was included in the design contract of what we're thinking phase two is going to look like. As I mentioned, the 4-lane section, median section, and just west of West Fork Whiskey there is a new roundabout that'll tie Horton Road into 191st Street. And that 191st will swing to the north to align with 193rd. With Spring Mill Road then tying in to a new roundabout there at the Osborne Trails entrance at Spring Mill and 193rd. I do want to point out, this is just the concept. As we get into design, we'll engage with stakeholders and the public to get feedback on this, but this is what we're at least initially thinking. The council may be aware that at one point, and if you look at our GIS, we actually have right-of-way that would swing Spring Mill east into that roundabout at Horton Road. You can see the line work on the screen that kind of shows that. That was our initial concept early on, but in talking with economic development and council, we felt like we were kind of piecemealing or dividing up a large parcel in too many pieces. And we'd prefer, I think, as we get into design, to try and keep as much developable ground adjacent to Grand Park available as possible. So that's where this concept of Spring Mill kind of swinging to the west and tying in with a second roundabout was really born. So that is what we're thinking. Again, by no means is this finalized. This is just the concept design. As we get into detailed design with A&F Engineering and HWC, we will flesh out some of these details to a greater extent. So next slide, please. So yeah, just a quick update. As I mentioned, we're under contract with A&F Engineering and HWC for these design services of phase two. We are working hard towards a construction in 27 so that when phase one is complete, we can roll into the following year for construction of phase two. I will say this is a pretty aggressive timeline for a project of this size. So this is very much in an ideal world 2027 construction. We're going to do everything we can to push this forward and meet that, but it is an aggressive timeline. And then lastly, we estimate this phase two project to be about $14 million in total costs. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions from the council, and yeah, and I'll be quiet until you have some questions, I guess.
Any questions for Director Nail this evening?
Just a few comments, maybe a few questions. Jonathan, thank you for the update on this important project. We got development we'll be looking at tonight on the council agenda, as well as residents in the area have been asking questions regarding kind of the status of this project. So very timely on giving us an update tonight. Really appreciate that. In regards to the one parcel property, that's a concept on the west side there. Appreciate you kind of leaving that open right now to economic development and opportunities afforded with that property as they come in and see what they want to develop for that site. Overall, thanks for, again, the presentation. Thanks for what you guys are doing in the office. It's very evident of the hard work that you guys are doing in the community with all the road closures and inconveniences right now to residents driving around Westfield. But I'd also like to remind you, if you want to state anything in regards to this, 146th Street is not under our control. State Road 32 paving is not under our control. nor is the downtown construction of State Road 32 under our control. And if there's anything you want to add to that, feel free to.
Yeah, obviously well aware of the inconveniences that are out there for our Westfield residents currently. We do our best to coordinate with all agencies, including NDOT and Hamilton County Highway. As you mentioned, 146th Street is a Hamilton County Highway controlled roadway. Obviously, State Road 32, US 31 are NDOT roadways. There's a lot of construction work in Hamilton County right now in general, and unfortunately, everyone's kind of competing to get their projects built as quickly as we can. We try to do our best to coordinate, make sure we're not overlapping in detour routes and trying to minimize the inconvenience, but we fully recognize that it's not particularly pleasant to drive around Westfield this summer with the construction we have. But we do ask for your patience, and when we are complete with these projects, you're going to see a major impact in the sense that it's going to be some really nice infrastructure and more convenient for residents as we move into the future. So ask for your patience, ask for you to slow down in work zones and be paying attention, avoid distractions as you drive. Everybody wants to get home safely to their families who are working in those work zones as well.
Jonathan, can you go through the history of why Phase 2 is designed the way it is versus a roundabout at 191st and Spring Mill, and just making it, I mean, it just seems like it looks a little weird. Can you just go through the history of like the timeline of when this design happened, what infrastructure is in the ground currently that makes us stick with this design, I guess?
Yeah, I can try to. It predates me a little bit from my time in Westfield, but originally we were, as an engineering department, looking at tying together 193rd, 191st, Horton, and Spring Mill into one intersection. Currently, there's a lot of three-way stops and kind of T intersections that exist today, which is not a particularly efficient way to get traffic moving east-west and north-south. So when West Fork Whiskey came in with their distillery, they needed a location to outlet their detention pond and to drain their site. We had this right-of-way that was dedicated with the Osborne platting process that was dedicated to allow for the roundabout concept with Spring Mill, Horton, 193rd, 181st. And because right-of-way existed, some of the utilities that needed to be extended to the west utilize that right-of-way space to go in. So there's a water main, there's a sanitary sewer that runs along that corridor. There's even a storm sewer that runs along the Spring Mill, what would be the Spring Mill tie-in right-of-way that actually West Fork Whiskey utilizes to outlet their site as well. So we planned for, we upsized those pipes to allow for future road construction as well, and to have enough capacity to drain the future roadway. But as new administration came in, and as Grand Park and the PPA sort of developed, we recognized that there's really some very valuable ground on the north side of Grand Park. And if you can vacate 191st Street west of Horton, you really have an extension of Grand Park going to the north. So trying to keep that 30+ acres intact rather than bisecting it with a Spring Mill leg was pretty attractive to our economic development team. I don't claim to know exactly what may go in there, but it's going to be, we want to make sure that we're designing a roadway that is as flexible as possible for future development. And the concept you see before you, we feel achieves that. So there are some utilities in place, but there would need to be drainage for any kind of development that would occur in that field north of Grand Park anyway. And we feel very confident that a developer can make that work in the future with about 30+ acres of ground to develop that is truly contiguous then with Grand Park. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
John, is there any current discussions or plans for 191 east of US 31? I know there's a lot of ground over there for sale and a lot of development coming, maybe from US 31 to Grassy Branch.
Yeah, so a portion of that is still controlled by Hamilton County, so not all of that has been annexed in. We have the roundabout East Street that we are actually going to be resurfacing and restriping to make it a true multi-lane roundabout here shortly, which will help with some traffic flow. And then going further east, 191st and Moontown. City of Noblesville is working on initial design for a roundabout there as well. Obviously, the county built the 191st and Grassy Branch roundabout. So there's some good improvements for some of the nodes east of US 31. However, we do not have any plans at this time to expand that to 4 lanes like we are with the phase 1, phase 2 projects west of 31. But of course, we'll continue to monitor traffic flows and development. If a development comes through that necessitates that, we will certainly remain nimble and accommodate that as needed. But current traffic and current development trends, I think a 2-lane roadway for 191st Street east of US 31 still makes sense given the node improvements for roundabouts that are either have been constructed or will be constructed shortly. We feel pretty good about traffic flow moving forward. But again, we always try to monitor that and we'll keep an eye on it.
Any other questions this evening?
I'd like to add just a couple things, if I
Yes,
could.
ma'am.
I told you I wasn't going to talk, but I changed my mind. First off, I'm hearing a lot of complaints from residents of why do we have to do all this right now? Why can't we just stretch this out? Because every day new houses are being built. Every day we're getting further behind in our infrastructure. I mean, what you're seeing right now is part of our 5 to 8 year comprehensive infrastructure plan, and it's what I call the catch-up plan. It's $180 million of investments of projects that, quite frankly, we probably should have done 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago. If we continue to slow walk it, the bottleneck just keeps piling up behind because every year we have new demands and new problems around infrastructure. I know this is a painful summer. I'm a resident along with everybody up on that stage. I hate it too. I curse the mayor every time I have to get in my car. I keep forgetting it's me, but it's reality and it's something we just have to grind it out this summer. I don't anticipate next summer being quite as bad, but it is what it is. Another thing that I'm hearing a lot of complaints about is, well, I didn't know that road was going down for repaving. Well, we didn't know either. And the reason I say that is because we actually can stretch our dollars more if we give flexibility to road companies to come in and we give them a section or a map of roads that need to be repaved. And if we dictate to them a timeline, the costs go up exponentially. If we just say, hey, during this summer season, we need these roads done, the cost goes way down because they can just fill a gap on a road with us when they have availability. So we're trying to stretch every penny that the taxpayers give to the city to make good use of those dollars to improve our roads. So there's a reason for the madness. It's not ideal, but I would rather get caught off guard by a repaving that takes a day to get done than lose $1 million that we could be spending somewhere else. So that's just a couple of points I wanted to bring up because I'm seeing it a lot on social media and I'm getting a lot of emails on it as well.
Yeah, I would add too, the longer you wait for some of these infrastructure projects, the more expensive they get, and that's the reality with inflation. So to Mayor's point, getting it done as quickly as we can stretches the taxpayer dollar even further.
Not just inflation, John, but the road decays even more, so.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Correct.
kind of a double whammy there. Any other conversation this evening? We'll move on to old business then this evening, which is ordinance 25-129, expanding the established economic revitalization area for the North Point Business Park. Presentation today by Claire Jelinek. I've been practicing, just so everybody knows.
I was shocked. Did you see my face? Thank you. Claire Jelinek, Economic Development Strategist with the City of Westfield. The resolution before you is a request to expand the existing North Point Business Park Economic Revitalization Area, which is also known as ERA, to include the most recently annexed and rezoned parcel located at 2255 East 196th Street. So at the end, in the appendix, here's a good map. So the parcel that's in yellow is the parcel that we're requesting to to include into the existing North Point Business Park ERA, which is outlined in green. I do want to note that it's important for an ERA designation as a mechanism to allow the City Council to review all future real and personal property abatement requests. It does not guarantee that people will receive this, but it allows you to have that review process in place and ready to go for a client that is looking at an area in this business park. So I'm happy to answer any other questions. This is the same resolution that was before you last time, and we will need a vote this time. So asking for your consideration for adoption.
Any questions or further discussion this evening? This is eligible for adoption this evening, so we need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve Resolution 25-129 for the expansion of the established economic revitalization area for North Point Business Park.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor Dart. Any other discussion this evening? Seeing none, may we call the roll?
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, not here. Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on to ordinance 2527, which is Woods Robinson Briggs PUD Amendment 3. We have Mr. Rogers here this evening.
Yep, thank you, President, members of the council. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is a proposed amendment to the Woods Robinson Briggs Planned Unit Development District. The real estate is roughly 11 acres in size and is generally located northwest of the intersection at 191st Street and Winter Wheat Lane. The real estate is currently located within District 4 of the existing PUD, which permits up to 235 residential lots. The proposed ordinance would permit an additional 35 single-family residential lots to be located within the existing residential District 4. The site plan is shown there on the screen. So this proposed ordinance would require substantial compliance with the site plan. So you see the rear-loaded product here, the amenities, and the general layout and alignment that you see here. So like I mentioned, substantial conformance with the concept plan, on-site amenities, and the perimeter landscaping. In addition, the developer is also proposing a voluntary zoning commitment that would require 85% of the proposed units to be owner-occupied. The remaining 15% could be rental units per the conditions outlined in the commitments. This item received a favorable recommendation at the June 2nd Advisory Plan Commission meeting. There were 7 in favor and 1 opposed. This item is eligible for adoption and consideration this evening. The petitioner is here and plans to provide just a very brief presentation on the matter. Following that presentation, both staff and the petitioner are available for any questions, should there be any from the council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Weston. Thank you very much. Got me right up there. Just a brief presentation to kind of tell you what has changed since we were before you for the introduction back in, I believe it was late April. So the site plan, as Weston showed you earlier, has stayed consistent. There's obviously parking both in driveways as well as garages, and there's off-site parking, and then there's actually some golf cart parking throughout closer to the clubhouse area where the pickleball courts and other amenities will be. As we obviously dialing in a little bit closer for your viewing pleasure, and then showing you where the amenities are, or proposed amenities for this neighborhood. Some of the things, as he mentioned, we are willing to add to the covenants for the neighborhood that 85% will be owner-occupied. Each lease within that 15% would be a minimum of 1 year. For tenants that are there for more than 1 year, certainly they can sign another 1-year lease. Any new leases that start by that in any of those homes would be for 1 year minimum. No Airbnbs, no verbos or short-term rentals. And then I believe one of the city council members had requested some additional landscape buffers around the eastern and southern sides of the pond, and we've agreed to include that. One other point to be made for the overall Woods Robinson Briggs PUD, the total residential housing count or lot count is 410. That was approved a few years back. Today, we are actually building 309 homes, or a total of 309 homes. District 4, as Weston mentioned, is today at 235 is the max amount, and we're just asking for an additional 35 homes to be approved in that section. So we would still be over the total amount that was approved during the original PUD of 410. With that, for the most part, these are the homes we'll be building, similar, just a tad smaller than what's currently being built within Harvest Trail today, which Harvest Trail is our neighborhood name for the Woods Robinson Briggs project. So with that, I hope you will consider this ordinance, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions this evening?
Two questions. One, I think last time I had asked about the pond to the south. Is all that pond being constructed at one time? And is there a commitment that that pond will be built and nothing would change that would push commercial development right up against this residential property?
That pond will be built. It's before our engineers right now, and the plan is with a possible commercial user that may be coming in the future to look to see if we can size it or expand it to the east to accommodate their needs. I think with the roadway that we'll be putting in, I guess I could go back to that for you all. With the road going in over here, and just some of the fact that some of the pond does go onto the commercial parcel, we will probably have about 6.5 acres of commercial ground that I'm certain will be coming before you all someday in the future. So yes, hopefully I answered your questions.
And then second question would be, you talked about leasing for 1 year. Is there anything in the language that talks about not being able to sublease something that's been leased?
Today, it's not. This commitment will go into our covenants. It's not obviously something that will be a part of our amendment today, but it's a a voluntary commitment that we're willing to add to the covenants for the neighborhood. If you're interested in restricting subleases, certainly we can look at that.
I mean, I could lease the property and then put on Facebook, hey, I got a property if somebody wants to sublease it for the weekend. For a tournament, so.
And at this point, the controlling body would be the HOA. Initially, at this point, we, as David Weekler is the declarant, and we have a management company that we've hired to manage the neighborhood. So they will be the ones governing that. And just whether people are truthful or not, when we sell homes, we ask every person, are you going to be owner occupied or investor? And I would say 95% of the people will answer truthfully, but we can, we can certainly vet that out if necessary.
I'd probably vet that out a little bit more just to protect the other homeowners that live in there, that somebody's not moving in and out every weekend.
Will do.
Because I know the intent is to take a look at that short-term rental VRBO piece. But today, this parcel, if you will, is approved for housing, a different type of housing product that you all still build. And you're frankly looking to build roughly 35 more units with a different product, which is in front of us today.
Correct.
I'm just level setting what we're actually
Oh,
doing
yeah,
here.
that's exactly correct.
So, okay. Any other questions this evening? Any council discussion? This is eligible this evening for a vote. We would need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 25-27.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor McCarty, seconded by Councilor Dart. Any council discussion?
I'll just say that I'm not in love with the layout of this. It looks like they're packing sardines in, and I just can't get over there's not enough green space for what I would think a family would want. It's not something I want to vote for, so I just personally just don't like the layout of it, so.
Any other council discussion this evening?
I think I've said it before, but I'll just reiterate so they understand my position is, I don't think I would have approved this entire neighborhood on 191st to begin with. I don't think it's the appropriate place for a residential neighborhood in scope of, I think, what the plan is for this road. In addition, it's already been approved to have housing there, which I think the former product is better than the current product, so that's where I stand.
I'll just say I concur with Joey on his statements.
Any other conversation this evening? Well, can we call the roll, please?
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
No.
Noah Herron.
No.
Motion carries 4-2.
Thank you. Moving on to our next item is ordinance 2528, which is Osborne Trails PUD amendment. We have Mr. Rogers once again this evening.
Yep, thank you, President, members of the council. For the record, Weston Rogers with the Community Development Department. The item before you this evening is a proposed amendment to the Osborne Trails Planned Unit Development District. The subject real estate is roughly 25 acres in size. It's generally located northeast of the intersection at 191st Street and Horton Road. This proposed ordinance would permit up to 104 townhome dwellings. It would require the property to be developed in substantial compliance with the concept plan and require specific architectural, landscape, open space, and amenity standards for the development of the property, which also includes a commercial recreational facility. And we'll pull up the concept plan here. So there's the concept plan, which I just briefly described. Similar to the previous petition, the developer is proposing a voluntary zoning commitment that would require 85% of the proposed units to be owner-occupied. The remaining 15% could be rental units per the conditions outlined in the commitment language. This item received a unanimous favorable recommendation at the June 2nd Advisory Plan Commission meeting. Tonight, this item is eligible for adoption consideration, and the petitioner is here this evening but does not plan to provide a presentation for this item. However, both the petitioner and staff are available to answer questions should there be any from the council. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have updated drawings on the architecture?
Yes, there were additional character exhibits that were added to the ordinance. They should be an exhibit towards the,
Towards the end.
towards the end.
Could you just
so-
bring those up? I think there's some updates from when it was introduced. I mean, they verbally, Jess McKinney talked about those verbally, but I just want to make sure people take a look.
Yep, so these are the proposed townhome elevations. It's my understanding that David Weekley created these specifically for this site to kind of pull from the inspiration from West Fork Whiskey. And then in addition, the petitioner added additional character exhibits for the proposed commercial rec facility on the property, and then added additional call-outs and detailed descriptions to highlight some of the architectural elements that are being proposed for the property. So the ordinance would require substantial compliance with these character exhibits. So what's shown here may not be an exact replica, but the character and quality would be substantially compliant with what you see there.
Clear attempt to carry through, though, what West Fork looks like right now. I mean, there's a lot of attention to the architecture piece here.
That's correct.
Any questions or comments this evening?
I would just say that again, my stance is we shouldn't have residential on 191st Street. However, this is a different than the last ordinance before us because it's a unique parcel that I'm not sure what else you can do with the land behind West Fork, and I think they've put together a pretty good project, adding a bunch of commercial in the front that, as a whole, I think it works. So just wanted to say that.
And I'll just add that going back to last year, there's been a lot of work done on this when it was last before council for a different vote. Then coming back to, well, I should say in between that time, and then coming back to council and APC, there's been a lot of minds and eyes on this, whether it be from councilors, APCM members, staff, and the petitioner themselves. So a lot of work going into this, a lot of feedback to make it what it is today. And again, I just want to share my appreciation to the petitioner. So thank you.
And I hate to say it, I concur with two of my colleagues as well, but originally this wasn't the place I was thinking about development, but through the hard work and dedication of the petitioner and Dave McIntyre working very hard on this project, I think they've come up with a very good product, and look forward to the development of this property.
Any other comments this evening? Seeing none, we need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 25-28 Osborne Trail PUD.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Patrick Tam,
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Next order of business, we're moving into new businesses, Resolution 25-132, which is approving the amendment to the declaratory resolution and the economic development plan for the East Side Economic Development Area and the creation of the Park and Popular Allocation Area. We'll have a presentation by Rachel Baker.
Thank you. Rachel Baker, Redevelopment Manager. Before you tonight is a resolution to approve the RDC resolution passed to amend the East Side Economic Development Area and create the Park and Poplar Allocation Area. Seen here on the map, the allocation area is a single site TIF area that coincides with the boundaries of the Park and Poplar project that was recently approved by council. This is the third step in the process to amend the economic development area and create the Park and Poplar allocation area. I'm happy to answer any questions, and Dustin Meeks from Barnes & Thornburg is here to answer any questions on the legal process.
Thank you, Rachel. Dustin, can you do a brief kind of just overview of what we're doing, just from a financial perspective, just to make sure?
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening, President Tam and members of the council. So this, what this resolution approves is very similar to other resolutions that you've had in front of you, where the city has an existing allocation area, and now because there is a specific project that the city is going to be involved in providing an incentive to, there's a need to create a site-specific allocation area so that we can tie the revenues from the proposed project into financing the infrastructure for that project. So what this does is it marks out the parcels where the Park and Poplar development are going to go, and then it approves in the plan supplement the proposed assistance that the city will provide in getting the infrastructure prepared for the development that's proposed on this site. And so because we're going to do that site-specific financing, the first step is to create the site-specific allocation area as opposed to a piece of the larger East Side area.
Any questions for Ms. Baker or Mr. Meeks this evening? Seeing none, this is eligible for adoption this evening. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve resolution 25-132.
Second.
A motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Kurt Wanninger,
Yes.
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Victor McCarty,
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Our next order of business is Resolution 25-135, finding property owners in substantial compliance for 2025 tax abatement purposes, presented by Claire Jelinek this evening. 2 for 2.
2 for 2, I love it. Thank you, appreciate that. For the record, Claire Jelinek, Economic Development Strategist for the city. The resolution before you includes all of the real and personal property compliance forms for the 2025 pay 2026 year for each company that is filing for their already approved abatements. So I thought maybe before I jumped into the slide, it might be helpful to walk through the entire process from start to finish just to give some context. So each time a client requests a real and/or personal property abatement for adoption consideration from the council, they are required to file a statement of benefits form, which is also referred to as an SB1 form. This outlines their estimated job creation, salaries, and capital investment for projects. So most clients do take a conservative approach when filling out their SB1 form because sometimes it's hard to determine exactly what those numbers will be multiple years down the road, especially if there's any market changes. So once a council approves a property tax abatement, again, whether it's a real or personal property abatement, the client is required to file a CF1 form each year they are requesting the abatement. So this is an opportunity for our department to review how each company is meeting their estimated benchmarks that were outlined in their SB1 form, and it's also a really good way for us to check in with our employers and making sure that we're connecting them to any resources in case they're, having any challenges with their businesses. So on the slide, let me just walk through that. So this year we reviewed 28 total abatements. 7 of them were personal property, 21 of them were real property. The properties that did receive a real property abatement generated over $96 million in assessed value for their property improvements. And so I included also just little tidbits of charts to help break down kind of the numbers. They make a quick comparison of the estimated numbers that were provided on those original SB1 filing forms. So those were estimated numbers before the before the project started against the actual numbers as of today that they filed on their compliance forms. So capital investments for real property exceeded expectations by over $35 million. Capital investments for personal property were short by $1.6 million. And the reason being that we have 2 employers that are still ramping up their projects, and once they are complete, it will fill this gap, which is estimated to be about $8.7 million from those 2 clients. Job creation exceeded expectations by 51 employees, and wages exceeded expectations by $10.22. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about this, and this is for consideration for adoption tonight.
Any questions or discussion this evening?
So these abatement forms, or these SB forms that were submitted and we reviewed, some of them go back to 2014.
Yes.
And I would assume that most of these were 10-year abatements that were approved over the years. So we've got some that'll be falling off,
Correct.
right? Do you have an idea how many are falling off maybe next year?
Off the top of my head, I think there were 3 or 4 that are falling off. I can get back to you on that for sure for the definite number, but
Is there anything that has to happen on behalf of the business when they do come off of the abatement plan? Is there any final review that's done or any?
well, we review their compliance form for the last year that they are requesting the abatement, and so that's kind of the final review. I think it's up to our department, specifically economic development, to continually to check in on them and making sure that they're doing well in the community and having those conversations in case any challenges come up.
Yeah, these are a lot of dollars that are were taken off the table. But I appreciate the detailed work that you're doing with the businesses and the forms as well as the comparisons here. I think that's good work. So
Thank
thank
you.
you. Yep.
Any other conversation this evening? Seeing none, we need a motion and a second this evening.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Dart, seconded by Councilor Waniger. Seeing no other conversation, may we call the roll?
John Dart,
Yes.
Joe Deppner,
Yes.
Noah Herron,
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Our next item of business is Resolution 25-136, which is approving and authorizing the pledge of certain general revenues of the city of, to the city of Westfield RDC in connection with the lease rental revenue bonds, which is the Grand Park District projects. Mr. Meeks.
Good evening, President Tam and members of the council. Justin Meeks from Barnes and Thornburg. So this resolution is related to the Grand Park District project, the financing of which has been completely approved by the council earlier in the year. In between the approval of that financing and now where we're in the process of looking to market the bonds, there has been a substantial change in Indiana law. During the last General Assembly, the General Assembly adopted Senate Enrolled Act 1, which made major changes to the way that property tax and local income tax work in the state of Indiana. And really two important changes to the local income tax structure in Indiana that have impacted this financing. First, the local income tax, as we understand it, at the county level is going away, and it's going to be replaced with a combination county and local unit income tax at the city level. And then secondly, the income tax, instead of being a given sort of every year in terms of its rate, beginning in 2031, will become adopted every year. And so what that means is here, where we have, or the plan of finance for this project included a pledge of local income tax revenues, that revenue stream is now oddly structured or new to the market, which can worry the market a little bit, and additionally is no longer certain because after 2031, every year the council has to approve the local income tax. And so because of those changes to structure, both to ensure that the city is able to sort of make the representation that it has made, that it does not intend to use the certain TIF revenues because it has other sources of revenue that it is able to bring into the plan of financing, and because we want to make sure that the bond market doesn't ding the city in terms of interest rates based on sort of this up in the air nature of the local income tax situation as we navigate this major change to Indiana law. One tool that we can put in place is this pledge of general revenues of the city as an additional revenue source that's pledged to the financing. And what general revenues means is that after all of the claims are paid out and all other obligations are paid out, whatever is kind of what the phrase we use is at the bottom of the barrel, is pledged to be available to pay this financing. And so by adding that added little bit of security where we know that money is going to be there in a way that local income taxes may be uncertain now, and as that extra layer of security, I think we're able to quiet both the market and help to make the plan of finance work the way that we originally intended. So it's a brief resolution, but it does a pretty complicated thing, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about it.
Any questions this evening?
Is there a cap on the amount of general funds that could be used?
So it's only insofar as they're available. The way that the pledge works is after, like, all other city claims and obligations are paid. So insofar as they're available, there isn't. But that's only insofar as they're available, and it doesn't change the sizing of the financing. So it's still only going to be a $40 million bond over the life of the lease, which is up to 30 years. So it doesn't change the scope of the financing, and our expectation is not that the local income tax will not be there. It's just hard to communicate that to the market who doesn't like to take your word for it 6 years from now. And
under this resolution, does anything come back to the council that says the city is going to use general funds?
So once the pledge is made, in the event that there was, so first off, tax increment revenues are expected to be more than adequate to pay for the financing in the first place. And the local income tax was itself sort of a stabilizing backup. It wouldn't come back to the council necessarily. The mayor would be sort of authorized to ensure that the debt service got paid insofar as there were general revenues left after all of the obligations and claims were paid out. But we also don't anticipate. This is a backup to a backup, and a sort of unique situation, mostly because of it's not often the General Assembly upends the whole way we do taxes. But
And if I might add to it too, and so those of you counselors, I know Councilor Dart and Tam have been involved. We've been briefing you guys on the impacts of SEA 1. As part of the training, or not training, part of the rollout of this next year's budget, we're going to provide training for the rest of you on the impacts of SE1. It is significant. And, we've had lots of conversations with Standard & Poor around bond ratings. They absolutely hate what's happened at the State House, the instability it adds to local income tax. Think of it this way. Every 4 years we have a new council, and every 4 years they could look very differently at lit. And you could see wild fluctuations from year to year over what local income tax will be assessed on our residents. And when you do things like that, S&P tends to look very negative on it. So we're doing this as a way to stabilize their view of us as a city to ensure we get the best bond rating we can get on the loan. Again, we do not anticipate a need for this, but it's worth a few points on the interest rate for us, and so we're going to do it. And that's really a long and skinny of it, or short and skinny of it.
Mayor, in the budget process that we'll be going through this year, will this kind of be built into it, or is it just what's left over at the end of the year? And then I guess the second thing is, will it take away from anything else that we're planning or want to do in the future?
No, it will not take away. And again, we're not even budgeting for this because we don't feel, based on the assessments we have more than enough to pay the proceeds of the bond. But S&P is S&P, and they're going to be more conservative in how they look at it. And we're happy to oblige them because we're confident in our assessments of where we're going to be on that.
Mr. Meeks, your law firm advises a lot of counties, municipalities, and I believe also your advice that is being done by a lot of law firms, your colleagues in the legal industry, if you will, throughout the state right now. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, and everybody is trying to figure out what to do in the new regime.
But yeah, the challenge too is, if our lit fails, we're probably in an even larger problem than what this contemplates, because we have other existing bonds and obligations that are operations that are covered by our local income tax as well.
Right, and I guess I would want to reiterate that the city's municipal advisor has structured the plan of finance covers the tax increment revenues cover without the backups. So, but yes, we're all going to be it's going to be a weird world in 2031 if the lit goes away.
Yeah.
And just so you counselors know, I may have copied you on this. I have forwarded conversations we've had around this resolution to our representatives and our state senator, making them aware of the impacts that are coming. A lot of these are unintended consequences. That happens in complicated bills when you do it in a very short window like they did this last one. So I'm being told some of this is going to get fixed. I don't know if it'll all get fixed, but I think legislators are keenly aware that they're having negative impacts from this bill. And let's just hope that in another 2 years that this gets fixed, because this is not how the state wants to move long term. I'm hearing that the state could be impacted by their bond rating because of what's been done. They've had a AAA bond rating in the state of Indiana for a very, very long time. I know our legislators are very proud of that. I doubt they want to lose that. So I think there's changes coming. We just have to kind of gut it out probably for the next 12 to 24 months.
Thank you. Any further discussion, questions this evening? This is a resolution this evening that is eligible for our adoption. We need a motion and a second.
Make a motion to approve resolution 25-36, approving the authorizing the pledge of certain revenue bonds to the city of Westfield RDC in connection with lease rental revenue bonds.
Second.
We have a motion made by Councilor Waniger, seconded by Councilor McCarty. Seeing no other discussion, may we call the roll?
Joe Deppner.
Yes.
Noah Herron.
Yes.
Victor McCarty.
Yes.
Patrick Tam.
Yes.
Kurt Wanninger.
Yes.
John Dart.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. Moving on, city council comments. Do we have an APC update? Councilor McCarty.
Yes, sir. Last week on our consent agenda, we had the Village at Chatham Hills, which is the 100%, 145 lot community there on Chad Hiddle Drive. Expansion for Vision HQ, the new Westfield Police Headquarters on Grand Park Boulevard. And then under our items of business was what we had tonight, Wood Robinson Briggs PUD amendment, as well as the Osborne Trails PUD amendment. And then we had the public hearings for Jersey 32 and Trailside Business Center. And then I just want to briefly give two shout outs. One to Rocks Baseball winning regionals this past weekend. And then in the audience just met this evening, Amber, his mom, and Scout Gabriel. Always enjoy seeing our usual faces here, but always enjoy seeing new faces as well as he earns a badge for attending tonight. So thank you for being here.
Any other comments this evening? Mayor?
Real quickly, late breaking news coming out of the comms department this evening. We're going to have a watch party for the Pacers game for the next 2 home games at Grand Junction. So grab your chairs, grab a blanket, and come and enjoy what we hope will be back-to-back wins for the Pacers. In addition, as we're all working very hard to support those local businesses who we know are struggling right now, this will be a great way for our Dora district to get activated and a great way for you to grab a pizza at Village or Greeks or grab some sushi at Chiba's and come into the park and enjoy the game. So come support your local businesses, support the Pacers, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Mayor. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. We are adjourned.